No, I went to the training competitions and had to be a fun and did I can make it since we're doing it. Okay, so we're fine. But we'll see each other anyway. So.
Your Excellencies, professors, researchers, colleagues, dear friends, dear everybody, good morning. The sun is shining on us. The old former chapel has been desacralized, I understand, so we can feel completely free. We know it's not a human rights violation that we have religious figures on the wall in the window, so I think we can just be completely calm that this will be an excellent session for our conference today. It's my pleasure as chair of AHRI to welcome you to the annual conference. It's great to see many faces again, old friends from previous conferences and other venues. But in particular, I also want to welcome new faces, young researchers who might not have been here before. And I hope that you'll find this an excellent opportunity to get to know new people and talk to old friends and make new contacts and basically talk and hopefully learn more about human rights in each other as we spend the next 2 days together. I want to especially thank our hosts, Jan Wouters, and everybody else here at Leuven for taking this task upon you to make this conference. It's been huge work. You can already see just coming here, everything is just being organized extremely well, and we won't get lost in the room. All the signs are in place, everything is in place, and I hope we'll have a great conference. It's been great working with you and helping you out in this. But most of the work is on you, so thank you very much. The conference of the topic of the conference, you know, we are in a situation in the world where human rights are facing new challenges. Not only human rights, a lot of issues in the world are facing new challenges. I think most of us believe that we can contribute to keeping this world afloat, still making it a better place, or at least secure that it doesn't get much worse than it is. So I think that the reason why we take our time out and from our lives and do this is because we think that research has a role to play in the world, also in the field of human rights. So I hope we will have thought-provoking, inspiring discussions, reflections, debates, disagreements, everything that will spark new ideas and make us smarter. I hope we'll see that in the next few days. But we'll also see this tomorrow at the General Assembly. The chair will move from Copenhagen to the islands, and I'm very pleased to do that, not because I don't want the Institute to be a chair of AHRI, but we've been for a few years, and this is our last time. Thomas took the some of the work for Period and other people have been, AHRI has been helping out quite significantly, actually carrying most of the workload. So in many ways, of course, it will be a relief when we're not chair of AHRI anymore. But we'll also miss it as soon as we're out, but we'll stay on board and be part of the conference. But the reason why I want to mention that is not to take limelight, but basically to thank you all for helping us out. We changed AHRI quite a bit, all of us together the last couple of years, and now we're here for another great conference, hopefully. So thank you very much for supporting us. And now the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jonas. Excellencies, colleagues, friends, I'm very happy to welcome you to Leuven for this annual conference of the Association of Human Rights Institutes. Our Leuven Center is proud to be a part of AHRI, and we're very honored to host this year's annual conference. In these difficult times for human rights, it is a sign of hope that so many scholars from all corners of the world and at all stages of their academic careers, younger, more senior, more advanced, and so on, that you all have this dedication and imagination needed to make sure that human rights continue to flourish around the world. I'm looking forward to many fruitful discussions with all of you over the next 2 days. I hope indeed that when you leave Leuven tomorrow evening to travel back home, you will not only have formed many new contacts with researchers and practitioners from around the globe, but you would also have received a lot of intellectual food, new ideas, fresh inspiration for your research and beyond. And I trust that you will also have enjoyed at least some of the other attractions that Leuven offers on 24 hours per day basis. This conference is organized in partnership with the FRAME project. You see the FRAME banner over there. The FRAME project was a 4-year collaborative research project carried out by a consortium of 19 partners from Europe and all over the world, coordinated by the Leuven Center. For the past 4 years, more than 100 researchers of the FRAME project have been investigating almost every aspect of European Union law and policy regarding human rights. The project, as many of you know, came to a formal end yesterday with a successful final conference in the heart of Brussels in the Royal Academy, bringing together more than 300 participants, researchers, policymakers, and experts. There were 70 people, in fact, and registered both for the FRAME and for today's and tomorrow's conference, so I'm very happy that there is a natural kind of continuation in a certain way of some of the debates, and I'm also very pleased that many FRAME partners are here today and will share also their findings with us. If you allow me to give you some amuse-gueules, some teasers for the conference of today and tomorrow. We will meet here in this beautiful Irish college to discuss international and regional organizations and the promotion and enforcement of human rights. Achievements and challenges. The numbers are quite impressive. Based on our call for papers, we have 75 papers that will be presented in 21 different panels and 3 different panel tracks. Brief warning or advertisement. Panel presenters, please, if you have a panel, make sure you are there at least 5 minutes before the start of the panel so we can get everything working smoothly. The topic of our conference is of growing importance, particularly in the light of the increasing challenges that global and regional multilateral frameworks are facing today. In the past 70 years, we have come a long way in terms of universal and regional human rights protection regimes. Just a couple of highlights. We know that as a reaction to the unspeakable atrocities of the Second World War, the United Nations was founded in 1945, and that in the United Nations Charter, already in the preamble, the founding nations reaffirmed faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, in the equal rights of men and women. That's in the Charter already. And then 3 years later, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted on the 10th of December 1948, and I couldn't resist the temptation to add to your conference backs this little Lilliput version, which we got with the grace from the United Nations Regional Information Office in Brussels. You know, Universal Declaration, nearly 70 years old. It's maybe a nice topic for a next AHRI kind of conference to commemorate that 70th birthday. But that was just a hint for you check. Human rights have always been and remain an integral part of the world organizations. You know what has come afterwards, an enormous growth of general specialized bodies, from the Human Rights Council to the Office of the High Commissioner, the various treaty bodies, special mechanisms, special rapporteurs, programs, funds, because of the special agencies like UNESCO, the FAO, the World Health Organization, think of the programs like these, and AHRI, and so on. So, I mean, an enormous system, an enormous edifice of human rights protection has been constructed in the course of those 70 years. And all contributing one way or another to the main process of global human rights protection. At the same time, we have seen amazing dynamics at the regional level. In parallel to the growth of universal human rights architecture, regional human rights systems have developed in various corners of the world. The Organization of American States was actually the first regional organization to adopt a human rights instrument, the American Declaration of the Rights and Duties of Man. In fact, preceding for about half a year the actual Universal Declaration of Human Rights. After San Jose, followed in 1969. Council of Europe was there already in 1950, 1 year after its actual founding, with the adoption of the European Convention on Human Rights. The 1980s saw the birth of the African human rights system with the adoption of the Bantu Charter. Those three regional human rights systems are so unique because they binding human rights instruments and enforcement regime. Commissions, human rights commissions, and courts oversee the respect of the rights contained in those instruments, monitoring state compliance, providing guidance, settling disputes, and they have played an invaluable role in empowering individuals to assert their rights and bring claims against states. There is not yet a similar mechanism at the global level. Treaty bodies do not offer the same kind of judicial, if you wish, framework. And it looks like we're still quite some distance away from this beautiful thought of a World Court of Human Rights. I know in the audience there are some distinguished people who have been doing great thinking work about the World Court of Human Rights, but we're not yet there. At the same time, several regional economic organizations have developed a human rights dimension. The European Union, as we also saw yesterday at the Frame Conference, fundamental rights entered into the remit of European Union law after a certain while, not from the beginning, but almost 50 years ago, end of the 1960s, early 1970s, we saw the European Union and its Court of Justice in Luxembourg increasingly recognizing human rights as part of its founding values. And as you know, this is now laid down also in the European Union treaties, fundamental rights kind of commitment, but also many interesting issues of both commitment to internal and external, say, human rights protection, plus a very up-to-date EU Charter of Fundamental Rights. In fact, I had hoped also to have a really good version of that EU Charter, but they are exhausted. They existed, but they're not available anymore. So apologies for that. A number of African regional economic communities have also adopted human rights instruments. Think of the ECOWAS Community Court of Justice, has an explicit mandate to hear human rights cases. The East African Court of Justice has heard cases dealing with human rights under the obligation to respect the rule of law. And last but not least, while not constituting a judicial regional system, the last years we have seen very interesting dynamics at the level of ASEAN, the ASEAN Intergovernmental Commission on Human Rights, and the adoption of the ASEAN Human Rights Declaration. We will hear more about this in our roundtable. Let me briefly dwell on some of the advantages and some of the risks of what I would call a proliferation of universal and regional mechanisms. It's great that they are there because they are indeed
engaging in standard setting, monitoring, adjudication of human rights. Global institutions can really provide a forum for cross-regional engagement and the development of universal standards, while regional institutions can, of course, contribute very valuable expertise on the realities on the ground. They can help shape universal standards to reflect regional needs. They can increase compliance by exerting pressure on their member states. But there is also a risk side to this proliferation of universal, regional, and sub-regional mechanisms. Diverging interpretations of internationally agreed standards may lead to fragmentation, may lead to discrepancies in human rights protection. Overlapping mandates may result in duplication of work carried out in the squandering of scarce resources. Political turbulence and forum shopping may also ensue. On the other hand, I should stress the advantages of this somewhat complex multi-layered system of human rights bodies on the international, regional, and sub-regional level. Because over the past decades, multilateral human rights institutions an enormous amount of experience that ways to impact into. That includes both a profound understanding of regional particularities and trends, but also a much deeper insight into substantive human rights issues and how to best ensure their protection and promotion. It's precisely the divergence between the various universal and regional mechanisms that allows institutions to act as what I would call laboratories. Laboratories where best practices can be developed. To work towards increasing state ratification and implementation of international instruments and compliance with international case law. I think that for that reason, the seminars, but also point meetings organized by the United Nations Office are so important. You know that there is also going to be from the 2018 onwards a fellowship program, enabling people from the regional mechanisms to spend time in Geneva to better understand the global mechanisms. I would refer in that respect to a solution which we thought would be interesting to put in your conference. It's the most recent resolution from the 24th of March of this year from the Human Rights Council, adopted by consensus, on regional arrangements for the promotion and protection of human rights. I'm sure our speakers in the roundtable will further continue on that. And there is this enormous diversity, and there is a need for cooperation. And let me quote the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. He said, UN and regional human rights instruments must complement each other and work closely together for a common end. And it is clear that great will be needed both to ensure more horizontal coherence between the various human rights systems, but also vertical coherence between the global and regional systems. So more exchanges, more cooperation, more coordination. And I have actually 5 brief points that I would like to flag here as potential instruments for ensuring that cooperation. First of all, the idea of judicial dialogue. Because, you know, dialogues between courts are a great way of transjudicial communication. Sure that courts responsible for the protection of human rights in different regimes in the world do not deviate from universal standards and from each other. And I think we should encourage regional courts to look beyond their specific proper legal systems, how important this also may be, and take inspiration from the work of other human rights courts and quasi-judicial courts, both at the regional and at the United Nations level. And that cross-fertilization is not new. It can be currently also in the African Commission on Human and People's Rights jurisprudence. Similarly, I think courts should, in the interpretation of regional human rights instruments, seek to reference universal human rights standards in order to avoid inconsistencies between universal and regional protections. And where they can, I would say, and where relevant, they should draw on the work of specialized human rights models. In Europe, for instance, this could be the European Committee of Social Rights, or at the global level, the UN Committee Against Torture. Just two examples. A second possible way of cooperation, amicus curiae briefs. Cooperation involving courts can comprise such amicus curiae interventions by various human rights organizations, bringing a particular type of expertise to the judicial forum of another organization, perhaps in another part of the world. The Office of the High Commissioner has indeed filed quite a number of amicus curiae briefs before various regional human rights courts. This can serve as a positive example. Third way, interinstitutional cooperation. Courtrooms are not the only place where human rights coherence can be improved. Regional organizations as such, including those with a broader political or economic mandate, should engage in cooperation with UN treaty bodies and Human Rights Council special procedures. As we know, for instance, the EU, in that respect, can still do some extra work in order to have more attention for the work of the treaty bodies and the special procedures. In this area, I think we can build on the experiences of the implementation of the 2012 Addis Ababa Roadmap, which works towards enhancing cooperation between the special procedures mandate holders of the UN Human Rights Council and the special mechanisms of the African Commission of Human Rights and People's Rights. That roadmap builds synergies between the two systems and promotes peer-to-peer learning. I think that's very important. For instruments, very legal if you wish, but very straightforward. That not always possible in reality because of legal or political problems, accession by regional organizations to international conventions. Here, the European Union can serve as an example because it is the only regional organization that ratified the 2006 United Nations Convention on the Rights of Disabled Persons. And in a bid to strengthen coherence within regions, the European Union is also, as many know, negotiating, actually renegotiating accession to the European Convention on Human Rights, but also to other Council of Europe human rights instruments, such as the Istanbul Convention on Preventing and Combating Violence against Women and Domestic Violence. We're not yet there. The Commission has proposed signature and ratification, but the Member States have not yet followed up. Last but not least, human rights benchmarking. Regional organizations are also often involved in that benchmarking exercise. They can regularly rely on existing human rights assessments, in particular the UPR, the Universal Periodical Review, as done in the Human Rights Council. This can not only enhance coherence of human rights, but also prevent duplication of work. And we can see that in quite a number of its policies, the European Union effectively relies on UPR and other human rights reports, including those emanating from civil society, when it is looking into the performance of third countries with regards to human rights. Let me conclude by painting a couple of challenges for both the universal and the regional human rights institutions today. Universal level, the United Nations system is under threat. Multilateralism in any event faces a crisis everywhere, but there's increasing pressure. Member states, and in particular the largest financial contributor, the United States, has questioned value for money, and in particular the failure to make peace between warring sides in Syria, Yemen, Libya, armed conflicts in Ukraine, South Sudan, Nigeria, that continues conflict. It's then, of course, as you know, a very well-known sport to blame the United Nations. You need to scapegoat for the failure of powerful states themselves. This happens, and the Trump administration has recently also said that it considers leaving the Human Rights Council, which it has done before. Remember 2006 to 2009 under the Bush administration. It has also accused the Council of anti-Israel bias. And you can imagine the job of the newly appointed UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, quite a bit of pressure that he experiences and pressure to reform and revitalize the United Nations. He has said when he took his oath of that it needs to focus more on delivery and less on process, more on people and less on bureaucracy. Great words. We'll see how they can be implemented. Reforms were not notoriously difficult, and not just because of bureaucracy, also because of very divergent interests between member states from the north to the south, east, and the west. But we know there is an internal review team working in the UN, and it will be interesting to see what will this entail for the human rights protection system. At the regional level, we also face quite some important challenges. We see a variety of common constraints that all regional mechanisms face, including their mandates. Recurring challenges often reflect a lack of political support by member states, maybe resulting in underfunding, capacity gaps, poor ratification and implementation records, an uneasy engagement with civil society organizations, and inadequate assurance of access to justice, particularly for individuals. And both the Inter-American and African courts, if I may say so, but this will be definitely further developed, as well as their corresponding commissions, suffer indeed from a notorious lack of funding by their membership. The Inter-American Court in particular has suffered from political contestation, and over the years, a number of member states are strongly disputing the court and its rulings. And as we learned from its president in 2016, the Inter-American Court witnessed significant cutbacks in its funding, resulting in the non-renewal of 40% of its staff contracts, which in turn, of course, seriously hampers the organization's ability to fulfill its mandate. In the African Union, has notably the issue of ratification. Only 30 out of 55 members of the African Union have ratified the protocol that establishes the African Court. This excludes 25 members of the African Union from the court's jurisdiction, which is particularly problematic since the African Commission can only issue non-binding advice, and we need therefore a court. So there are capacity constraints in quite a number of places, and I'm not going to develop that further. There are also serious issues regarding the possibility for civil society organizations to engage with regional mechanisms. I wish I could develop it further, but I hope that during the conference we can, because of course you can imagine, especially in countries in the south when there is great poverty of victims, that we need really civil society organizations with the capacity to represent the cases to the regional mechanism. Hence also the importance of tailored donor support. Let me conclude by pointing also to the fact that we need stronger interfaces between the regional and universal mechanisms. We know that right now the universal system is still very much nation-based, and that regional organizations actually usually don't have much more than an observer status in those universal mechanisms. Acceding to international human rights treaties is sometimes just legally impossible if those human rights treaties are only open for nation states. Hence the importance of inserting what we call RIO clause, a regional international organization clause, which indeed makes it possible for organizations like the European Union to accede to multilateral global instruments. I haven't spoken up because time is too short about the highly uneven state of regional systems across the globe. We have looked into the African, European, Inter-American, Asian systems, but there are still these kind of white spots, blank spots on the map. Think of the Arab region, think of Persian Asia, Oceania, and so on. I think we can conclude from this very brief overview that there is something great here. It's a complex, multi-layered human rights system with various universal, regional, sub-regional actors, which has a huge potential for effective human rights protection. But in spite of many achievements, we also see that serious challenges lie ahead. And I invite you all to use the next 2 days to engage in the many panel and roundtable debates on these issues. We will have 3 different panel tracks that will address respective challenges: global human rights protection system, regional organizations, and also a 3rd track on the international courts. I wish you all fascinating and inspiring conference discussions. Thank you very much. It's a great honor to open this high-level roundtable. We have four extremely distinguished participants, experts, who all will speak from, of course, their own particular area of expertise. If I may go in the order of the speakers, we will have His Excellency Karel Daan, who is currently Deputy Permanent Representative of Belgium to the United Nations in Geneva, especially following up the work of the Human Rights Council, and as you know, Belgium currently is of the Human Rights Council. He has a very distinguished track record, which I will not all recall here. Let me just say that he is an alumnus of the law faculty in Leuven, and he also has a degree from the Graduate Institute in Geneva. Then we have Ambassador Brandeo, who is the current European, African Union permanent representative to the European Union. If you read his CV, you will indeed see that already while he was a student, he was actively engaged in student movements, taking all kinds of very courageous initiatives, trying to isolate the then South African government. He has an enormous diplomatic career. He has been working on lots of issues touching upon our topics of today, including SADC meetings, transforming the OAU into the African Union, being chief director also of the African Multilateral Directorate, which also meant that he has been working on SADC, the African Union, NEPAD, peace missions, and so on. And over the past 5 years, he has been African Union's permanent representative to the European Union. Then we have Professor Dr. Elisabeth Salmon, who everybody from the Trade Project also knows quite well, and also AHRI, because last year she effectively joined with her Institute for Democracy and Human Rights membership of AHRI. Professor Salmon is professor in international and human rights law at the Pontifical Catholic University of Peru. And she has a great track record with regard to international human rights and humanitarian law. Last but not least, we're delighted and really very honored to have with us here Dr. C. Prabhat FDC. We practiced this, so this has been checked whether the pronunciation is okay. Dr. C. Prabhat FDC is actually a lecturer at Mahidol University in Thailand, but she was appointed by the Thai government to be the Thai representative to the ASEAN Intergovernmental Commission on Human Rights, serving there between 2009 and 2012. So she brings invaluable expertise both from academia and from practice with regard to the ASEAN dimension of human rights protection. And we will very honored to have these four distinguished speakers. They all know that they can in principle 12 minutes for their introductory statement, and we will make our best to make that work in a very gentle manner. So can I kindly ask His Excellency Karel Daan?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real honor for me to be present here today, and I will not take any introductory remarks as my time is limited. I have been asked to dwell on actually two topics. On one hand, on challenges of the UN mechanism for human rights, and secondly, on the issue that Professor Rogers has been referring to this morning already, which is the issue of the way in which the Human Rights Council is promoting cooperation between the UN and regional arrangements. I will first start on my second part of the presentation. And excuse me for being a little bit telegraphic, but I think it will be easier to stick to time. Already, a few elements have been said already this morning about the cooperation between the UN and the regional mechanisms. It goes back to the Vienna Declaration and Program of Action. So there, that's the origin of this stimulus to incite the UN to do something about, to encourage, first of all, regional mechanisms to deal with human rights on one hand, but also to enhance this cooperation between the UN and regional mechanisms. There have been a number of resolutions from the General Assembly. The first resolution on this issue has been passed by the Commission on Human Rights in 1993, and then the new Human Rights Council from 2007 onwards has adopted 6 resolutions so far on this issue. I'm very proud to say that Belgium has been taking the lead on this issue. It has done so on behalf of a cross-regional group. You can see the composition of the group on the screen. It has been adopted every 2 years, this resolution. It's a biannual resolution. And I would say it has been a consensual resolution. There have never been votes on this resolution, so it's always been a rather dry and dull moment at the moment of adoption, but still, I think, a very important issue. So in terms of content, nothing very much surprising. The elements have been referred to this morning already. We have 2-day seminars that have been provided in the resolutions on various topics. So these topics have varied over the years. The resolutions have asked for the setting up a network of focal points. Actually, the network of focal points is something that has been a result of the discussion within the Senate in the previous years, as is the last element, which is the fellowship program that has been referred to this morning, and that is a new element. This fellowship program has been adopted and integrated into the latest resolutions, the resolution at the request of the people participating and the experts participating in previous seminars. So there is, I would say, a gradual evolution over time. Every resolution picks up on reports that have been the result of these seminars and that have been presented to the Human Rights Council. So there are a number of challenges. First of all, this cooperation, these networks are a little bit, the resolution, the mechanisms are not at the same stage. They don't have the same depth of integration, not the same level of legal specification. And so the first element that we have to avoid is the proceeding process. We have to ensure that all the regional mechanisms are on board. Secondly, major constraint, budgetary constraint. As I have said earlier, this is a non-problematic resolution. But, for example, this year, the fellowship program was something that was a little bit difficult to accept for some member states because it entails TDI, and so it has budgetary implications more important than the previous resolution. So what did we do as Belgium? We said instead of having a biannual resolution, we would try to analyze the resolution. So this is a concession so that it would become more acceptable for a number of countries like Japan or others that we would introduce this new element in the resolution. And it also contributes to a more general effort from our side to lessen the burden of the work of the Human Rights Council. Political resistance, it has been referred to this morning already. Some regions are not really very happy with their own mechanisms, so they don't use the funding of encouraging cooperation between the UN and a mechanism that they would really like very much. So this is not really an issue so far, but it could become a more important issue. And then I said earlier on that the different resolutions provide for discussions on specific topics. And this year, Belgium has introduced the idea of having a specific discussion on racism and racial discrimination. The reason being that this is a very difficult issue at the UN. As you may know, different mechanisms have been set up within the Human Rights Council or the Durban Conference, and so we thought that this may be a way also maybe in order to ensure that there is a discussion and a kind of positive dimension in this issue. So last of all, maybe explaining why Belgium is pushing for this. It has been very consistent engagement, so it's based on our track records, on the fact that we are so much engaged within the Council of Europe and European Union on this issue. So this was for us a large opportunity to encourage this cooperation, and it was also a specific and explicit part of the pledges, our pledges in the context of our HRC current membership. Then turning to the first part of my presentation, the achievements and challenges of the UN on human rights. This is, I'm not speaking on behalf of Belgium, I'm speaking on behalf of a diplomat who is currently participating in the discussions and the activities of the Human Rights Council, but I'm sure that my will, of course, share most of the ideas that I represent. I think the first element is I would like to underline the importance of the universal periodic review process. This is very important. This is a major achievement. And this element is the element of peer review. All states being equal, and Belgium has had its report recently. It has had questions by other countries on migration, on whatever you name it. So this is very important. Now we are entering now into the third cycle of EPR. We have almost all countries have passed the review now. And so the major challenge is how can we ensure that this universal periodic review remains a credible and solid tool at the disposal of the Human Rights Council. What I mean is we should avoid that it becomes a kind of complacent exercise where countries, only those countries intervene to say that it's magnificent, that the situation is perfect. So that's the reason why Belgium is very, very active in this UPR, is always trying as much as possible to intervene and to ask questions. The focus on the thematic issues. HRC, Human Rights Council, is strongly focusing on thematic issues, and I would say this is positive on one side it's positive because it pushes certain issues forward, but there is clearly also that's a reason for polarization because for the West, basically we oversimplify the West ones for human political rights, and the other the Council is pushing economic and social and cultural rights. So how to avoid this tension, how to ensure that we keep moving on with the human rights agenda in a consensual way and avoid polarization. This is a major challenge. The country-specific situations. The Human Rights Council has difficulties to address particular country-specific situations in a timely manner. A lot of countries don't like back and forth, I suppose, most people are not familiar with it back and forth. So it's difficult to do that. It takes a lot of energy. Sometimes we need to go through special sessions before we get to this situation. So that's the whole challenge of how the Human Rights Council can effectively play its preventive role. The overburdening of the agenda of the Human Rights Council is a major problem. It's something that has to be dealt with. According to some, it's a deliberate agenda of a number of countries to overburden the Council so that it would not become effective. But it's really a challenge that even those countries, the Western countries, the European Union, don't really succeed in contributing to this in particular. We have, for example, finalized our resolution on regional cooperation and effort to contribute. We have the special procedures, that's also been mentioned this morning. Special procedures are a powerful tool, but the main challenge are budgetary constraints on one hand, and on the other hand, access to countries. Budgetary constraints are extremely important. Human rights is one of the three pillars of the United system and only gets 3.9% of the budget. The main part of the activities of the Office of the Human Rights Commission, the High Commissioner, are financed by voluntary contributions. This is not a sound situation. This creates suspicion, and so something will have to be done about that in the long term. Human rights treaty bodies. There are two main treaty bodies acting according to different work methods. This leads to too many. This leads to fatigue, reporting fatigue with countries, and we have to do something about this. The review is underway, but it's not sure that we will really get some of it. The resistance is high. The number of countries will resist streamlining. It is a major challenge because reporting fatigue is a situation that is not only there for countries that have limited resources, but also for Western countries, members of the European Union. The relationship between Geneva and New York is also a major challenge. On one hand, the General Assembly, the Third Committee is dealing with human rights, the Human Rights Council is dealing with human rights. So how can we avoid duplication, contradiction has been said with the development of the UN and the regional mechanisms, but also at the UN, how do we avoid that? And also the major challenge in this respect is the fact that the General Assembly, the Human Rights Council, is a subsidiary organ of the Human Rights Council. So how this has probably at some point we will have to deal with that. The issue of the report to the General Assembly of the Human Rights Council, and the fact that some countries will consider the General Assembly to be a real body is problematic, and something will happen. The UN Security Council, the US wants to deal with human rights in the Security Council, other countries don't want it. If the Security Council deals in an efficient way with human rights, and the Human Rights Council deals only with never-ending discussions, then we'll have a problem. So that's also an issue that we have to see. Discussions are going on in Geneva on the preventive role of the Human Rights Council. It is okay that the UN Security Council deals with human rights, but it should not be a pretext for the Human Rights Council not to do anything effective anymore. Finally, the US and the Human Rights Council, as we mentioned, it is a witness. We don't know. We know that the hearing will probably come in June of the Human Rights Council, to put the Council on notice, that's what it said. One of the major problems going started in March is Israel, item 7. As you know, there is a specific agenda item for the Middle East. And so this will be very, very difficult because the US will never get acceptance from the other membership to drop item 7. It is provided for in the resolution. You should change you should change the institutional work, the way of working. Of the Human Rights Council, it's not a quick fix. It's not possible, and the majority of the countries will not accept that item 7 will be brought. So that we are going for the tough times here. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Ambassador Dan, for your very informative presentation. All kinds of new elements. I always like that we get complete figures about the budget for the 16, when we say human rights are a mutual objective of the UN, wait, how much of the percentage of the budget of the United Nations actually go to human rights? I'm also very proud that Belgium continues its leadership on this important issue and continues its tradition of finding compromises, valuable compromises. It's for a good reason that we give us a slogan for our current campaign for the Security Council, fostering consensus, acting for peace. So great, and thank you very much for this very valuable additions to the debate. Can we now invite Ambassador Brandeo for an input and questions from an African perspective? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow panelists. Due to the limited time to make my short presentation, I'm going to cut to the chase. In Africa, we've got 5 treaties that are instruments for the protection and the promotion of human rights. And out of these 5 treaties, 3 of them include implementation mechanisms. This being said, all of them have entered into force between 3 and 5 years after they have been presented to the heads of states. We have 2 main mechanisms as part of the African human rights system. The first being the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, and we have the African Court on Human and People's Rights. The African Union, as a continental organization which was transformed out of the old Organization for African Unity, has in its constitutive act a number of references to the protection of human rights on the continent. Since the creation of the African Union 15 years ago, we have adopted almost or more than 21 treaties, and 17 of these touch upon human rights. So there isn't any lack of intent when it comes to including human rights in our various instruments and mechanisms and so forth. It is always said to be a priority. But what we have to bear in mind is, in terms of implementation, the African Union is not a supranational institution. And so none of the decisions that our heads of states will take are considered to be binding or can be enforced. We are still in the process of negotiating, reaching the level of integration and the ceding of sovereignty as certain other regional communities have already achieved. I'm going to get to the challenges, because I think everyone will appreciate that in Africa we do have a considerable number of challenges when it comes to respecting, promoting, and protecting human rights. And this, I give an African perspective, not necessarily an African Union perspective. We are all products of our history. And in Africa, we are relatively young, independent states. States that were born oftentimes out of prolonged conflict. And that has resulted in a resistance by our young states to readily cede sovereignty in terms of the regional integration agenda, in terms of globalization, etc. We know that human rights has no borders. But in Africa, there is still this clinging onto
sovereignty issues. And so it becomes very difficult to obtain compliance at times from all of the member states of the African Union when it comes to setting the standards that would be applicable. At an individual level, we find that human rights have not yet evolved to the level of sophistication that obtains in other parts of the globe. So you find that there is a general disregard of human rights advocacy and the discourse. You've got victimization in certain cases of human rights defenders, advocates, and activists. The application of human and people's rights has led to individuals and private corporations and organizations questioning the very basis of these rights and their relevance to the African context. Critical divisions between rights holders and duty bearers have tended to exacerbate disagreements and controversies on human and people's rights. Yet, promotion and protection of rights is best achieved as a collective responsibility. On the part of member states, definitely a lack of political will, the challenges that we have to address and overcome. We've got a lack of comprehensive collaboration between the human rights actors and other stakeholders. There are resource constraints. The issue of funding was raised by Professor Bolton. And indeed, if your human rights institutions at national level or regional level cannot be considered to be independent or autonomous, then it does not serve the purpose that it was created for. It would be very easy to undermine such institutions that would be dependent on their funders, and this would then be construed in another manner. The multiplicity of international, regional, and sub-regional treaties and mechanisms, I think we need to look at harmonization of these instruments and the instituting of dynamic processes. We are fully aware of the fact that in Africa, right now, the basic human rights of African people continues to be a challenge. The focus for Africa's majority of the 1 billion population is access to potable water, access to electricity, getting a decent job, having a shelter, being able to have food on the table. Now, these are the basic human rights, which millions of people on the continent do not have. And this is after decades of us talking about Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So, how do we address this? Whether it's at the global level, at the continental level, at regional level, it will take all of us together in the global system of governance to come together and to try and find solutions that would be lasting. The famine that we find currently in the Horn of Africa region, the conflicts we have on the continent, these violate the basic human rights of people. And most civilians are targeted, women become victims. Now you've got the entire migration issue that is preoccupying us. Why would people subject themselves to putting their lives and the family's lives at risk? And then on the journey in seeking refuge, seeking sanctuary, their rights are further abused. And many of them hence also lose their lives in the process. So how do we mitigate these challenges? We try to find solutions. But my colleague diplomats will admit that it is very difficult to work in small groups, uncoordinated, without a broad framework and the commitment that is required, that political will, the funding without conditionalities, the depoliticization of human rights. The frameworks are there. Whatever treaties we have, they are there. The implementation of what we agreed to is where the challenge is. If we have instruments that are not fit for purpose, let us look at either reforming them or coming up with alternative instruments. But 70 years after the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the world has failed Africa, and African leaders have failed Africa when it comes to human rights. Because the African Union is 15 years old, but many of its leaders have been in power for over 30 years. Have they been able to make the transition from having fought for liberation and independence to becoming a government of the people, by the people, for the people? And the last point I want to touch upon is the development question between development and human rights. In my view, yes, definitely. Able to think about development, you are going to find that more of the human rights of people is going to be respected. People will enjoy a better life. They will no longer be subjected to any of the challenges that are currently faced. Then we will see the extent of the migration problem as we do now. We won't see so many conflicts erupting. We will have increased food production. We will have prosperity. We will have globalization taking place. You won't have so many cynics and skeptics. You won't have nationalism on the rise. So there will be a whole lot of benefits to be derived if we are able to bring about development and peace. And we all know that the nexus between peace and development is a strong one. You can't have peace without development, neither can you have development without peace. And in this entire scenario, at the core of it is, how do we make people's lives better? Which means, how do we bring about a greater respect for human rights? Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Ambassador, for these very interesting and I think very honest remarks about the situation and the challenges for human rights protection from an African perspective. Really shows your incredible commitment to human rights and your invaluable experience in many of these human rights protection schemes. So thank you for highlighting all these things. So now I'm going to give the floor to Professor Elizabeth Salmon. So we're looking forward to the number of reflections from
I would like to begin by thanking this enable invitation from AHRI and saying that it's a honor for me to share this panel with such distinguished speakers. We have been invited to discuss the challenges facing the inter-American system. I would like to point out that, in my opinion, in order to assess these challenges, it is necessary to understand the political and legal situation of the states of the region. At the outset, the inter-American system faced a context of authoritarian governments that violated essential principles and norms for the protection of human rights. This led to the fact that, although the American Declaration of Human Rights was adopted in April 1948, the American Convention on Human Rights became effective only on July 18, 1978. 10 years after its adoption, the Inter-American Court did not issue its first emblematic judgments on forced disappearance until 1988. Currently, the inter-American political scene presents different characteristics, furnished by states facing post-dictatorial and post-conflict processes. In this particular context, one of the most significant contributions of the inter-American system has been to provide guidance about how to deal with past crimes, avoiding impunity. However, this has not resulted in the automatic strengthening of the inter-American system. There seems to be a false perception that their transitional situation should grant them special treatment by the Inter-American Court regarding their compliance with their international obligations. In this tension lies the basis of some of the current challenges. In my opinion, there are at least 3 types of challenges in which certain intra-systemic inconsistencies manifest themselves. First, challenges that I call operative. Then I will address the tensions arising from the state's failure to fulfill the judgments, to conclude with some notes on the very practical existence of a comprehensive system of protection of human rights in the region. Challenge 1. Reparative class. These are of 3 types. Lack of financial resources, as already mentioned, limited human resources, and procedural delay. The Organization of American States allocates between 5 and 6% of its annual budget to the Inter-American Commission, while only 2 and 3% to the court. That means, as a whole, less than 10% of the total. For this reason, a significant portion of the budget of these bodies comes from voluntary contributions from third states or international foundations. In 2016, about 46% of the budget of the Inter-American Court came from those sources whose continuity is random. This situation prevents long-term planning. This problem is compounded by the lack of commitment on the part of states to allocate resources to the system. It is striking to see that voluntary contributions from Latin American and Caribbean countries to the International Criminal Court amounted to around $13 million. while the voluntary contribution to the Inter-American Commission was barely $200,000. Therefore, it's not only the economic reasons that explain the low contribution to the Inter-American system. Human resources. Two fundamental aspects of the work of the Commission and the Court are the modus operandi of its members and the number of lawyers who support its work. Regarding the first, it's worth noting that neither the commissioners nor the judges perform their functions on a permanent basis. This modality contrasts with the one established for the European system in which the judges are permanent duty. On the other hand, the commissioners and judges are assisted by executive secretariat. In particular, the judges are supported by 21 lawyers to discharge their work, not even 10% of the total lawyers of the European system. The procedural backlog affects the obtaining of justice by the victims and generates discomfort among the user of the Inter-American system. For example, during the year 2015, the Commission received 2,164 petitions and opened 208 petitions. This is only 9.6% of the total. In addition, it submitted only 14 cases to the court in 2015. For this reason, the Inter-American Commission has adopted measures such as the accumulation of petitions and cases containing similar facts in the same report, the archive policy to identify those petitions lacking follow-up from the petitioners for a period of more than 5 years. Third, the reduction of pages in the admissibility and end reports, among others. Second challenge, the relationship of the court to the states. The intense work displayed by the entities constituting the Inter-American system increasingly related to dynamic and third-person interpretation of the content and scope of human rights has generated questions from some states. Faces its greatest difficulties when states refuse to comply with the pronouncements or fulfill them only partially. The court has resolved 218 cases to date and has established in 207 of them the responsibility of the state. Of these 207 cases, 183 are still under supervision, and only 24 have been closed because they have been fully complied with. What are the reasons of this low level of problems? First, there are general factors originating from the fact that the reparation measures ordered by the Inter-American Court are not only compensatory, but also complex, numerous, include long-term measures, and involve multiple national actors in their enforcement process. Studies show that the measures that reach a high level of implementation are the pecuniary type. In stark contrast, measures that require the state to initiate investigations or legislative changes take first place in levels of non-competence. Secondly, there are some specific factors arising from the context of each state and its willingness to comply. For example, in periods after dictatorships or armed conflicts, society is often so polarized that it does not accept reparation for members of certain groups. In the Peruvian legal structure, the concept of victim as a person entitled to receive reparations does not include persons associated to armed groups. Despite the fact that the Inter-American Court has found state responsibility for torture or extrajudicial executions in certain cases against members of the Chinese-backed armed group. Challenge 3. For AHRI system? In asking this question, I mean whether the organs that compose it are with coherent norms, structures, and procedures. Taking into account that, as well as normative and administrative elements that favor coherence or mitigate the inconsistency, there are other elements that tend to be competitive. I identify 3 elements that disturb the relationship between the Inter-American Commission and the Court. First, at the organizational chart of the Organization of American States, both organs are revolved. The Commission and the Court have different characteristics, separate seats, and sometimes diverse legal positions. The hierarchical position in the OAS organization chart reflects this disparity, since instead of being placed in the same subgroup, they appear in different sections. Secondly, the role of the Inter-American Commission in the proceedings before the Court. The Commission does not have a clear role in the processing of individual petitions and seeks to be a part of the litigation process before the Court. In the beginning, the Commission was the one that assumed representation of the victims. However, in 2009, a reform took place allowing the victims to participate as procedural parties by appointing their own representatives. However, in practice, the Commission is always in favor of the position of the victims in the proceedings before the Court, given that it is the Commission who first analyzes the possible existence of a violation of human rights and subsequently refers the case to the Court if the states do not comply with the issued recommendations. Finally, the General Secretariat of the Organization of American States does not favor the identification of the system, since it has created a secretariat for access to rights and equity that exercises functions that can be superposed with those of the Inter-American Commission. All this seems to compete with the functions of this new office, which also absorbs financial resources. In spite of all these challenges, the organs of the Inter-American system play a very important role. Their contributions to the protection of human rights and to the affirmation of the rule of law are valuable. Therefore, it must be said that we are certainly better with these bodies than without them. Nevertheless, their high importance is not in line with the political, budgetary, and legal constraints that I have addressed. An important lesson is that in order to have a system of international protection of human rights, it is not enough to create such a system, but it requires permanent and vigilant support in order to emphasize its achievements and to limit its difficulties. Thanks very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for your very insightful chart analysis of the challenges which the American system faces, and also very much for excellent time management. Now, for Alicia, so we will ask Steve to share with us some reflections from the Asian or ASEAN point of view.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the details, and I would like to thank the organizers for having me here. I look around and I see that very few coming from Asia. I'd like to start with a few statements. The first one in Asia is the audio region without a broad-based regional organization, and there is no regional keeper system in Asia. Secondly, there are, however, a number of sub-regional organizations. For example, COSA, the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, with quite a number of legal binding documents with country keepers. With the AHRI World Charter and ASEAN. My talk will be focusing on ASEAN, where I know less, although I may not know everything. And what I'm going to do is actually to focus on three things. One is looking at some achievements, if there are. Secondly, the challenges, something that I was referred to. And then the third one is interactions between ASEAN and the United Nations and the international ecosystem and other regions have contributed positively to the creation of human rights in ASEAN. So these are three things that we try to finish in 12 minutes. Please stop me as soon as time is out. I can stop anytime. ASEAN establishment in 1967 has been recording some, I'm not quite sure if I could use the term success, but that has been put in many writings that ASEAN has been making some success. And the first one is maintaining peace and security. At least there has been no either or, despite some tensions, for example, between Thailand and Cambodia. But ASEAN could keep peace among them, I guess, in a way. Secondly, ASEAN has been achieving prosperity. ASEAN has been known as the fast growing region in the world, and this has been sustaining despite global economic recession. ASEAN is also moving towards ASEAN community based on three pillars: political security, economic and socio-cultural, under which many programs and projects relating to human rights were initiated for further cooperation, either on multilateral or bilateral basis. Fourthly, although human rights and fundamental freedoms was not included in the original purposes of ASEAN, it was first established as in 1967. But these concepts are now explicitly recognized by the ASEAN Charter, both in the purposes and principles. And for us, this is success in the sense that for the first time, ASEAN has not only legalized, but legitimized human rights and fundamental freedoms within the region. And the last one, the adoption of the ASEAN Vision 2025 with explicit reference to human rights and fundamental freedoms. I guess, at least from the paper, is also a success. However, there are some challenges that ASEAN has been facing. And I'm just highlighting some that I think important in country promotion and protection of human rights. The first one, in order to avoid conflicts, and this is correlated with maintaining peace and trade. So in order to avoid conflict, some issues have been kept under the radar. ASEAN and ASEAN member states prefer to pay by eye to issues considered sensitive. For example, current extrajudicial trading with the Philippines. Actually, no country has mentioned about it. has even questioned the previous government. The rights of Asian leaders such as India only just like last year that the Malaysian Prime Minister start, calling for ASEAN to intervene, but no other member state has taken any initiative. Democratization in other member states are ongoing human rights violations. So we see these challenges going on in the region. Secondly, strictly upholding the principles of respect for state sovereignty and non-interference in the international affairs of ASEAN member states. And this is part of the so-called ASEAN, which also include consultation and consensus and non-confrontation and cooperation. ASEAN member states will be hesitating to ask any questions because it is considered as interference in international affairs, and it is considered as confrontation. So, they prefer to keep silent or keeping any issues simulation considered sensitive under the carpet. That is one of the ways to keep things in the region. And actually, these ASEAN also between the way the ASEAN human system was established and was designed, and the way ASEAN United Commission on Human Rights and the ASEAN Commission on the Promotion of the Rights of Human Children were established. I'll be elaborating a bit more. For the human rights and fundamental freedoms are part of the agenda of different freedoms. ASEAN has each year about 1,200 to 1,400 meetings. And partly basic human rights included in their agenda. And the agenda of ASEAN leaders and higher officials. And it is included in the ASEAN Charter and ASEAN Vision 2025. Diversity among the ASEAN member states and protection of human rights. Again, this was reflected in the way ASEAN human rights system was designed. And then another challenge that we found more is actually about engagement between ASEAN human rights system and civil society groups. It has been quite minimal, and it has been the same extent in the sense of mistrust and distrust between human rights system and civil society. There is also kind of a dilemma among ASEAN member states because of the concept people-oriented and people-centered. Some countries, majority of the countries, want to go for people-oriented. But what does it mean by people-oriented? It means that they claim that they know what is best for the people. But then society has become for people-centered, which says that we know what is best for us. And of course, these two concepts are included in the document, so ASEAN do not know where to go. And then lastly, ASEAN is not one. ASEAN is always taken as any regional standard is subject to national laws or national constitution. The last question is the interactions between ASEAN and the International Regional Organization contribute positively to the creation of the rights in ASEAN. And my answer is no. Yes, because ASEAN and ASEAN member states have been actively participating in engaging with the United Nations human rights system. There is a better record of ratifications of international human rights treaties. ASEAN member states include Australia, but one footnote here. Better record of ratification does not guarantee better implementation of human rights. Secondly, they open to cooperation with external partners, including UN organizations. For example, ASEAN has signed a quite number of memorandum of understanding with the UN And as long as Parliament can use its condition for cooperation, and then open to dialogue. That would be yes, but then no. In the sense that collectively, ASEAN is still guarding against any intervention, protecting its member states, but its people. Secondly, ASEAN member states are still resistant to the idea that human rights and freedom will contribute to the development, peace, and security. So there's a common trade-off there between human rights, fundamental freedoms, peace, and development, as I said earlier. Thirdly, there's no exception to the rules of ASEAN. As I already mentioned, that ASEAN would prefer to remain silent on any systematic human rights violations committed by ASEAN member states. And as we all know, that some provisions of ASEAN human rights declaration do not meet international standards. To end by saying that I was having a meeting with groups of friends in the region just less than a week ago. And some of my friends said that they were really hopeless about the ASEAN human rights mechanism. There are two of them. ASEAN doesn't have a legally binding document, except the one which just entered into force last March, and that is the ASEAN Convention and High Trafficking Convention. Intentionally, this convention does not provide for a monitoring body. Because it means that neither AHRI nor ACWC will be acting as the monitoring mechanism for this convention. So you can see the design, as I mentioned, of the ASEAN US system, that it does not provide for protection. Of course, it provides money for promotions, and therefore ASEAN has been comfortable with. And as long as there is no consensus, I'm afraid that the human rights system in ASEAN will remain the way it is. And the hope for ASEAN human rights court, we are having in Europe, in Africa, and in Americas would be a very long distant future. In any case, the ASEAN human rights system is a child. It's actually less than 8 years old. So if you look at the definition of time, it is a person below 18. So we are hoping that after 18 years old, our system will be getting better. Thank you.
Many thanks, Mr. Papa, for your very open and sober account of the state of affairs and challenges in the ASEAN and human rights mechanism. And your sovereignty only intervention popping up, and immediately starting how to reconcile with the very idea of human rights. Dear colleagues, we are running a little bit over time. Just, I think it's important to allow at least for 2 or 3 questions to our panel. We have 3 able persons who are trying to walk around with microphones. Who can we invite for a very brief intervention? Professor Bokan has already used his hand.
Thank you very much for this very interesting but also sobering presentations. I want to ask with regard to the education system in particular, as we are here close to Brussels, I think in the past had a rather positive experience with the ASEAN dialogue, bringing together EU and ASEAN Asian states. And this was actually a very sincere exchange on particular problem areas. And therefore I wanted to ask what would be and EU member states contribute in order to make these mechanisms more useful. Also, it was not mentioned that in the Arab context, we have also some instruments, and in the Islamic context, unfortunately, they are even more doubtful, like the idea of setting up a human rights court in Bahrain is like a joke. But still, the question is what can be expected in the dialogue to strengthen such mechanisms. And that was to be also involved in one of these Arab institutions in Brussels. And I could see that also on the other side there are committed people. And so at least on that level, there is something can be.
We'll collect a number of questions and then we try to have who goes, okay, please, can you also kindly identify yourself? Okay. Hello. David from Utrecht University. I'm also Chinese. The question was your Excellency English Ambassador from AHRI University. And you just mentioned, I think it's very important and interesting, is that the government has a very strong connection. Government is the most important thing for people who are very concerned about the food. And now China and Russia both have a very strong connection in the area. Some Western people criticize that Chinese government don't care about the human situation in the countries. They just do their business. But in fact, we know that Chinese investment and economic cooperation in the countries contribute a lot about the local development and have some connection with the promotion and protection of human rights under your logic. So, do you agree with that the criticism from the Western countries about the Chinese investment and economic development in the country?
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes. We have two persons. Okay. Good luck.
Hi. Hi, I am Ravi from the AHRI. I want to ask a question. That you see ASEAN has been doing quite a lot of work over the past few years, but the counterpart in Asia, SAARC, on the other hand, has been quite prominent in that context. And don't think there needs to be a more greater collaboration between the Asian counterparts like SAARC and ASEAN coming together and kind of ASEAN leading the role in developing SAARC more over the time.
Next question.
Hi, my name is Ryan Sinha. I want to know about for the EU ambassador to the EU. The same statements the link between United and development. I think you wanted to ask, you have to, which comes first? Or can work be focused on action? Because in my opinion, there's actually the required framework there, but the implementation is question. That's why I like the program. So, should there be priorities for development at the expense of the human rights, or these can they be
Thank you. Now we stop with the questions. Come on. Okay. It's not very long.
Thank you. A very short question to Ambassador. You said that Europe is pushing for civil rights and the others for economic, social, and political rights. And that's really important. What about Europe fighting for economic, social, and political rights? Wouldn't that be a way of overcoming certain privileges? And hasn't the time come after 24 years, the Vienna Declaration for Reduction in Visibility and Independence and Equality for all kinds?
I think we'll now start with questions and we return to the panel, and I would suggest to take questions that we have the panelists in the order that they spoke also, so maybe I can answer first to some reflections.
Yes, thank you very much, and I will start answering the last question. Directly, I think I can probably oversimplify. I didn't have much time, but I just wanted to say that this focus from one group on one type of rights and from another group on another type of rights, just creating attention and polarization. That was what I mean. That Belgium or the countries are interested in that's absolutely not the case. But there is a tendency in the context of overburdening of the Council from Western countries to push back on the issues because the discussions with confrontation. And so, with respect to one of the examples is the right of development, which is a very important issue, but it's a very difficult one also. But it is an initiative that should be addressed, and I think that there are working groups on that issue, as you know, and now the whole issue, and third one is question whether people in the room is to help in the better the rights of sustainable development goals. That is something that is very important for us to address at a very early stage. With respect to the question on the dialogue between the European Union and international including regional organizations, I just wanted to say that at the level of the UN, the European Union is also a big contributor to the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, and so funding of the European Union is also used in order to further strengthen the cooperation between the UN and the European Union.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Bandi.
Thank you very much. Let me respond to the first question. The relationship between Africa and China in many decades. It's a historical relationship that is located in the context of our alliance, if I can put it that way, during the years of struggle for independence. China was one of the countries that supported the liberation movements in Africa. We also have had cooperation with the G77 context. Now, China has been a relatively new player on the African continent, and perhaps over the last 15 years or so, its presence has been felt increasingly in the economic and social spheres, particularly. The relationship is such that the solidarity between China and Africa is based on interests that are declared upfront. We are able to speak in a manner where both parties or partners put the issues on the table, agree that it should be for mutual benefit, and that is how projects and programs are agreed upon and implemented. You can see the tangible results of this relationship that Africa has with China. Those who have had or still have interest in Africa from other parts of the globe would like to see China as a threat to their own interests in Africa. And hence, sometimes China is demonized, and this relationship is referred to as a new form of colonialism of Africa by China. But besides, the partnership between Africa and China have themselves failed to bring about any development in Africa over the decades. Maybe in little pockets they have made a difference, but the nature of the relationship that Africa has with various partners is different. But if what they criticize is really the case, why is it that they themselves have such good and close relations and cooperation with China? I cannot imagine any country in the world right now that doesn't have interests in a sound relationship with China. China is the greatest driver of the global economy. So why wouldn't anyone have interest in having relations with China? So for Africa, it has been found to be beneficial, whether it is the physical infrastructure, whether it is the investments that come into the continent, to create jobs, to make trade easier, to bring technology, to have skills development. These are different ways in which that the SDGs can be reached. Maybe China and Africa cannot do everything just in that one partnership. But if other partners come on board as well, the lives of our people, and in that way you have perhaps more transparent democracies, more credible democracies, we will have better governance, and ultimately that will lead to improved human rights as well. I did not quite get the second question, so with your indulgence, would I request the gentleman to repeat his question, please?
Yeah, it was about the link between human rights and development, and you correctly stated that the that nexus between the two. But it was what I missed was your view on whether the two can be worked on at the same time, or if development can be given priority at the expense of human rights.
Thank you. Very good. Virtuous. Well, I don't think it's mutually exclusive. Because of the relationship, they both have to be dealt with simultaneously, because both are urgent issues. And the impact is going to be both ways. Human rights should not have been something that should have been taken for granted. It should have been a given. We should not be discussing it in this day and age, anywhere in the world. But unfortunately, the reality on the ground is that we tend to sometimes not apply the same standard globally when it comes to human rights. The greatest champions of human rights ought to be the governments. They were elected, they were given a mandate to govern, and part of their governance was to govern in the interest of the people, not in self-interest, not for self-preservation. But when I refer to politicization of human rights has become a tool at a global level to take punitive measures against certain states, individuals, organizations, if you disagree with that. Now, if we are to look at the development angle, how do we bring about development? It can't be on our own. Very few countries are able to develop in isolation from the rest. So we need to have a global system where, whether it is South-South cooperation, North-South cooperation, East-West cooperation, we need to work together in the interest of humanity. People with global economic and political systems and social systems have not worked in the current format. That's what they're revising them. Africa, amongst other developing countries, have been calling for a reform of the international system of governance for the last 17 years, since Kofi Annan was Secretary General. We have made an inch of progress. Why? Because it does not serve the interest of all countries to see all people in the world come up to the same level of development. I shall stop there because if I'm given the opportunity, I can be quite
Thank you very much. I'm sure you can discuss this further also in the coffee break and some bilaterals. Can we invite Elizabeth to make some comments?
Maybe that I think that the next conference in AHRI should be about economic and social rights. Because it is true that this is one of the most important points now here in the inter-American system. If we don't have the opportunity to work on economic and social and cultural rights, our system allows only two economic and social rights to go to the core. This is education and association, the civic association, the labor association. But the core bit was the social approach to civil and political rights. It means to read civil and political rights, including social measures, but it's not enough. It's not enough. Certainly, also I support the next meeting of social and cultural rights.
Excellent. Thanks very much for that suggestion. Sipa.
I'll be addressing two questions. One is about whether or not more cooperation between AHRI and the South will contribute to development of the university in South Asia. Two things. One, the further cooperation between AHRI and the South focus mainly on economic cooperation, as you know. And both regions following the neoliberalism very aggressively. I'm sure that close cooperation on economic front will be there. Secondly, there was one meeting organized some years ago, jointly between and South India. After the exhibition of AHRI from other international humans. Unfortunately, that event seemed to be a one-off, meeting. Although from time to time I was requested by some citizens in South Asia to share with them about how we push for the ASEAN ecosystem, that they say that has not been, followed on a regular basis. And as we know, that it has been difficult for South to already implementing examination legally binding documents related to human rights, although for example, South Social Charter, South Convention and Anti-Trafficking Convention system is all are there inside, but without mechanism. In ASEAN, there is no legally binding document, but with mechanism. So the two regions could be combined. Second point, whether or not the dialogue, let's say, for example, ASEAN and EU contribute to strengthening human rights I guess the dialogue has made ASEAN and ASEAN member states more comfortable in discussing about human rights. They become more familiar and they are okay with human rights language. But then when it comes to actual implementation, actual strengthening of the human rights process within ASEAN, I'm not quite sure that has contributed to any further strengthening of the human rights regime. And I give you one example here. The European Union has been earmarking, a large amount of budget to support just human rights in ASEAN. Unfortunately, and although the agenda would be shared by ASEAN and AHRI and ACWC, unfortunately, the activity implemented by ASEAN sectoral bodies and the two commissions are mainly focused on having workshops, trainings, which in the long run hopefully will be, contributing to the strengthening of the human rights regime. But so far, it does not really touch upon the substantive elements of human rights itself, as I said, unfortunately. I like to touch upon two things here. One, maybe these are not related to the two situations right now, but I want to say that because we are all, many of us are teaching course here. I always share this with that I believe human rights are interrelated to but then I feel that in different regions, we tend to give priority to one category over another. And I think that does not really help that concept of interrelationship and interrelatedness. I believe as a Thai, I'm in touch with the generalized argument. But I believe that governments or regional organizations should come up with different standards when it comes to human rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we owe a lot of gratitude to our great panelists with a very solid foundation for fruitful further discussion during our conference. We now are entitled to a coffee break. You will see that in fact we are lighting schedule, but let's be very clear, we will have the coffee break until 11:30, so basically 21 minutes. Okay? Enough to have a coffee in the chat. 11:30, the panels will convene. They can carry on to stay on to 12:45, and the latest stop at 1 o'clock. And then we still have 1 hour for the lunch between 1 and 2 o'clock. So I need to have chairs to make sure that happens. We also have an exco meeting of AHRI chaired by Jonas. And for the exco members, the exco meeting will take place in the room behind the global room here. So we have this all. Thank you very much and have fruitful discussion.